What's going on, everybody? I'm Caleb Ochoa, also known as NFL Caleb 22. I'm here with my good friend, Derek, also known as DWeezy. How you doing, man?
What's going on?
So this is betting the NFL Week 17. Now, it's usually the last week of the season, but we get an extra week of betting, which just means more opportunities to make money. So, but before we get into all that, I want to, have our disclaimer. We're not responsible if you lose any money. We're just making, giving suggestions. We're not trying to screw y'all or anything. We're just, giving advice. So don't blame us if you lose some money. We're just trying to help you all out, pretty much. All right. Now that we get that taken care of, I'm gonna recap the week of week 16. And the favorites, straight up, went 9-6. Overall, they've been doing pretty good, 147, 91, and 1. Against the spread, though, not so good. And that's what we care about as bettors when we're betting against spread. Not so good this week, 7-8, 115, 122, and 2 overall. But home teams looking a little better. Which they haven't been looking great all season. They finally started looking good. They're 8-7 last week against the spread, 105, 132, 2 overall. But yeah, home teams have gotten better in recent weeks than they were earlier in the season. And the over and unders, the overs hit big time. 9-6 last week, which is definitely a big change. Have not been hitting a lot, pretty much all season. There's been a few weeks where they have more over the unders, but and this is just happened to be one of them. A lot of points were scored, I guess. So keep a lookout for that and see if that trend continues. All right. And the biggest upset of the week came in the Texans upsetting the Chargers. They were plus 13 on the spread and plus 525 on the money line. They kicked their ass 41-29. And this one was the most shocking things I've seen all season. And I just did not expect this. I was deadly confident in this pick. I did pick this game. I had him less than the plus 13 it got up to. I only had him like minus 10 or 11 or something like that. But even with that, I was just really confident that they would cover. Just didn't think Texans really had a chance in this one. But some they made too many mistakes. They turned the ball over too much. And the Texans capitalized on it. But yeah, what did you think about this game, man?
Yeah, with that Chargers game, I was actually in the stadium at the Panthers game while that was going on. I happened to look up and see the score. I think it was somewhere around like the end of the third quarter, but I had to pull out my phone and I jumped on a team point total over. I think it was 26 and a half at the time. They had, I believe, 19 points, something like that. I thought I recalled the situation being I needed more than a touchdown. I needed more than 7 points. But either way, that ended up cashing, and then they still didn't win, which I found that shocking. Like that was more the reason why I targeted the team point total because for whatever reason that the defense was not there. Uh, yes, I was shocked to see that the Texans got that 41 points, but I was more happy to see that, the Chargers were able to put up, what was it, 29 points and cover that live number that I was able to hit. Uh, but yeah, like you said, I don't think anybody was expecting that one, but that's part of a reason why I don't too often like some of those big spreads when you see them.
Me
Sometimes it's
either,
just,
man. But it looked too good. Like it looked too
yeah.
good.
And I understand the feeling. Trust me, I do. But yeah, that was one where, nah, I'll stay off that one. 13 and a half. Something crazy like that. That's too much. That's too rich for my blood.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I had minus like 10 or 11, so it wasn't too bad at that point. But I guess it got worse, and yeah, um, just dumbfounded what happened there. But the next thing we got is the biggest cover against the spread was Washington at at Dallas. Cowboys, just totally decimated the Washington football team. Like it was from the start of the game. Like the first Thompson play, they threw an interception to Trayvon Diggs, getting his 11th interception. Um, but yeah, from that point on, it was total destruction, and which made me so happy because I hate Washington, and I bet on this game, so it was doubly good for me.
Oh yeah, we were both on this game last week.
My minus 10, I had them. And yeah, they definitely easily covered that spread by 32 points. So man, made me super happy on both counts on there.
Yeah, I had this game. I was in at minus 11, right there with you. But yeah, at no point in time was this game ever in question, or did you feel like that spread was ever going to be in reach? Um, Hell, that was one game where if you wanted to, you could have came back in on a live number and taken, you know, depending on how early it was in the game, probably found something like minus 17, uh, and that would have still covered by 13, 14 points.
Yeah. But yeah, super happy about that one, man. Um, Next we got the bad beat of the week, and this game just totally pissed me off, man. It's the Broncos at Raiders game. The Broncos were getting 1.5 points, and they would have covered. They would have covered. They just hit that field goal that they missed in the fourth quarter, and just getting that. They didn't have to win. They just had to hit that field goal. They would have lost by 1 point, and that would have been enough, and I would have hit my 16 parlay. That was the only game that ruined that ticket. I oh, I was pissed off after that game, but yeah, I mean, I was feeling pretty good at halftime. They were up 13-7, but even when the Raiders took the lead, I was like, okay, I'm still good. And then Broncos couldn't do anything with Drew Lock, so I mean that kind of sucked. But what do you think, man?
Uh, yeah. When I heard that Drew Lock was gonna be the one taking snaps, I did not expect any offense. The Raiders haven't been able to figure out how to produce any offense, given their struggles, and some of it, understandably so. You lose, top level talent. It makes it difficult to have to mid-season reshift things, possibly. There's no telling how much Gruden was involved with the offensive side of the game, but you're definitely having to a coaching shift, a, a shift in talent and players, and not in a way where, okay, these guys are coming back at any point in time. No, they're gone. All right, we got to figure something out now. And so I'm not shocked that that it was a low scoring game all around. That's why you saw that just 1.5 on the spread. A game like that, I'm more likely to take the money line versus the spread just because it's so close. I mean, you don't want to get stuck in that middle or something where lose or win by 1 point and still end up actually losing.
Yeah,
Just get at that point, just give me the money line, regardless of the sport, even if it's something like the NBA, where, if it's a 2.5, 3 point spread, it's likely that, that the actual odds on the money line aren't that far apart, and it gives you a little bit more security. So yeah, in the NFL, when you see those real skinny lines like that, I'm more likely to look at the money line or just stay off of it completely.
you know. Um, but it would have, like I said, it would have worked. Is what 1 point. It was like it would have been a 1 point difference if they just kicked that field goal. So, what didn't happen. So, man, oh well, shit happens. But now we got my own and my own personal picks. I went another losing week for me. Haven't been good this recently. Yeah, I go 2-3. My best pick was picking the Colts on the money line, like you said, because it was too close. It was only like a 1 point spread. I pretty much did what you said. Going with just the money line there, and I took the Colts because I just was pretty confident that the Cardinals would
What
continue
what'd
on
you
their
get?
downside.
What'd you get the Colts at? I'm curious. because I think it was a live number that I was able to get in on.
It was the just the with the even with the vig, minus 110.
Oh man, yeah, I was I don't remember exactly when it was in the game, but I was able to get on them while they were down probably. But that Colts money line plus 140.
Yeah, that was good. And yeah, I just that, but that was the one that was on Tuesday because that's when I or
Oh
Wednesday.
yeah, no, that's why I was just
That's what it
curious
was
how
on
much.
Wednesday.
Yeah, I was just curious how much they were the underdog pregame.
Yeah,
But
no,
yeah, either way,
there was no underdog. That's why it was basically a pick 'em. So
I got you. Yeah, see, uh, yeah, that's why with something like that, especially if it's them skinny spreads, if you can find a little bit of angle, uh, kind of like last week I was talking about the Miami game. We saw how that went. And that was oh yeah, no, I jumped on in the comments while you and Brodney were on,
yeah,
uh, and major shift in the line, major news as far as player personnel being out, starting quarterback being out. Um, you saw that line shift majorly, and even if you didn't get on it until the Dolphins were -3, I
mm,
said going into that I don't they had the number wrong. I don't know how to explain it. I have no idea why the Dolphins were +3 before all the COVID
yeah.
reserve nonsense happened. It made no sense to me.
I think as they were, I think the odds makers were thinking that the public would bet them because they beat a good team in the Bucks. I think that's what they were thinking.
And that's a possibility. I was surprised that even after the line shifted and moved, it still hovered around that 3-point game. Um, that was a game where I came in and I got on the Saints team point total under. I believe it was either 16 and a half, 17 and a half, but I didn't have much fear that that number was ever in jeopardy. And as the way the game went, yeah, by the time the fourth quarter started, they weren't scoring 14 points.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, and my worst pick was I already said it. It was the Chargers Texans game. Totally whiffed on that. But did you have a game you totally just whiffed on this week?
Um, I don't know if I'd say totally whiffed. I did go 3-2 this past week. Now I was on the Carolina. Well, I was on the Bucks in the Carolina game. They clearly covered.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I was just trying to get my plays pulled back up. Green Bay was Green Bay and the Ravens were the games I lost. Yeah, that Green Bay game kind of
Yeah.
ticked me off the way Cleveland was able to just sort of crawl back into that, not really have any chance of winning the game,
Yeah.
but enough to just ruin the spread for me
I mean,
because
you think if after Baker throws 4 interceptions, you think it'd be an easy cover, but apparently
exactly
not.
7.5. But no,
Yeah.
of course, Rogers had to say, let's, go, let's ease up, take the boot off their throat. Let's, give them a chance to feel better about themselves. Like, no, I need that killer instinct. I need you to go out there and no, we putting up 20. Like, that's what we're winning by.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as far as bad beats, that would definitely qualify because if it wasn't for that, I'd have had a 4-in-1 week. Uh, plus the Colts money line hit, plus the Saints team total under. I did lose on I think one or two live plays. So overall, it was a pretty all right NFL weekend for me, but it could
Yeah.
have been even better if the Packers had just gone ahead and ended it. But that is not what occurred.
Yeah. I also had that game. I wish it just turned out that way, but it didn't work out. So it is what it is. But before we get into this week's picks, I want to tell you guys what to look out for this week. And it seems like the odds makers expect a lot of big one-sided matchups because there's no games that have a point spread less than a field goal. 8 games with a betting line of more than 6 points. So yeah, just be aware of that. There's some big point spreads this week, and yeah, there's like I think it's most Sunday games we have this season with like 15 games, so you don't have to worry about getting your bets in early on Thursday or Saturday night. Just get them in for Sunday, and you'll be good. All right, man. Now next, my first pick, I'm gonna go with my Dallas Cowboys minus 5.5 against the Cardinals. We're at home, where we looked damn good last week against Washington. Dak seems like he's back to where he was before he had the calf injury. He threw 330 yards, 4 touchdowns last week, so he looks good. I think our offense is back, and I think we're going to score a lot of points. We're averaging 38.4 games, 4 points per game at home. And the Cards are struggling. They're struggling right now. They've lost 3 in a row. Their offense can't really seem to get going without DeAndre Hopkins. They've only managed to average 15.3 points per game. So with our defense, how well our defense is playing, with their offense struggling and our offense is finally back, I just don't see how they're going to cover. So I'm going to take Dallas to cover pretty easily. I mean, we've covered pretty easily in a lot of weeks this season. I mean, we're 12-3 against the spread for one of the last 5 games. So I don't see why we can't do that this week.
Yeah, I definitely think if Dallas can come out and score points, that's when they're the deadliest. Because the defense plays its best when the other team has to come out and throw against them. And that's not to say that they're bad against the run, but clearly it's if you can run the ball against them, that's what you want to do. Well, if a team's getting a touchdown lead, a 10-point lead, you can't, I mean, you don't have to abandon the run game, but you can't lean on the run game the same way you could if it's a back and forth game. If you're only down 3-4 points, one score game, you can still completely rely on the run game. But if it's looking like you might be facing a 2-score, 14-point deficit, you're going to have to pass the ball more. You're going to have to pick up some more chunk plays. And that's where yes, Arizona has shown they're pretty good at passing the ball, but it's when you play into a defense's strengths that you worry most. And so I think if Arizona wants to beat the Cowboys, they will have to be more precise, win the turnover battle, because they're not going to come out and try and run the ball. They're going to come out and try and throw the ball. That's Cliff Kingsbury's offense. That's what's going to occur. So yeah, I think Dallas is probably going to be able to force a turnover or two. They're going to be able to get they may not get sacks, but they'll definitely get pressure on Murray, and that's what's going to dictate this game. And so I think they could cover that 5.5 spread right there.
Yeah, definitely think we will. All right, for my second pick, I got the Cincinnati Bengals at home against Kansas City Chiefs. They're getting 4.5 points at home. They are a home dog, and I do love taking home dogs. And I think they are the most capable home dog of the week. And yeah, I just not believing in the Chiefs right now. Everybody else is on them. They all can talk all good about the Chiefs. Do what you want.
They beat a sorry Pittsburgh team. Now,
exactly.
yes,
That's what I was about to get to, man. They've been
they
beating
put up
the Raiders
something
twice,
points.
the Broncos, and the Steelers. Yes, they beat us, but our offense didn't play well, and we stopped their offense from scoring more than 20 points. So there's that. But yeah, they mostly what they played is a bunch of crappy, mediocre teams. So I'm just not gonna buy into
Chargers win they scored
they
more
should have
points.
lost. They should have lost to the Chargers.
Yeah, they scored more points in overtime in the fourth quarter than they did in the first 3 quarters of the game.
Yeah.
So yes, that's pretty spectacular what they did. I'm not trying to discredit that. Not everybody knows, yes, they have a high-powered offense, but in that game, especially against the Chargers, you saw plays where what's his face? Patrick Mahomes was
Yeah,
making plays, or he wasn't making plays. That was, but easy throws, not this wasn't the Patrick Mahomes isn't hitting his sidearm throws that he normally does. This was dude in the flat, some slight pressure, a little move, sidestep by the quarterback, pretty good release and throw, and just couldn't get it. Just grounded it to the guy. But
yeah,
yeah. So I haven't been a believer in KC this season.
yeah. Neither have I, and that's why I'm gonna bet against them. Um, the Bengals look pretty good after last week's big win. Pretty much kicking the Ravens' ass, and Burrow
Yes,
looked great.
unfortunately, I was on the other side of that one.
Mhm.
I wasn't sure how Burrow was going to come out and do.
Yeah,
That
he looked
finger.
pretty damn good.
Yeah,
4 touchdowns, over 500 yards.
yeah.
Yeah,
I just remember thinking to myself, of course, the dude that's been basically saying, yeah, if I say it, you can almost fade me all season long. I say Joe Burrow's not going to play well. He goes out and throws for 500 yards. So I really hope there was somebody that went out and found a prop, passing yards and pushed that line up. Because I'm willing to bet, the odds on Joe Burrow throwing plus 450, plus 475, plus 500 if you could find that number. Um, you're talking about a pretty sweet ticket right there, because I'd imagine it'd probably be somewhere around plus three, 400
mhm.
on a ticket like that. And so, yeah, so I'm not too pleased about Joe Burrow's 500-yard game, but yeah, I think he could come out and potentially torch this KC defense.
Yeah, that's what I think too. Right, my third pick is the Houston Texans plus 20, 12 and a half against the San Francisco 49ers. There's some question whether Jimmy Garoppolo will play this week. They don't know if it's Trey Lance or him. And if it's Trey Lance, this is a guy that threw 52% completion as completion percentage. Um, he lost. He only scored like 10 points in his first start. He wasn't very good. So if he plays, I don't think it's going to be very pretty for them. And if Garoppolo plays, he didn't play good last week either. Like he threw 2 picks and a loss to the Titans. So I'm not confident in him either. And Texans, they're a bad team. They're a bad team, but they've been playing well. They've been playing well the past 2 weeks. They put up 41 against the Chargers, put up 30 against the Jaguars. So they got some type of offensive weapons, something. I mean, they did it with like all the guys out. If they get some of those guys back, I think they can play a little bit better, even better. So like the way they've been playing. They're getting a lot of points. I think it's a big point spread. And I don't see the 49ers covering that. I just don't see how they can see them just blowing out the Texans in this one, especially with the if they have some trouble at quarterback, whoever is starting. Yeah, I just can't see them covering the spread. But yeah, what do you think, man?
Yeah, if Trey Lance is starting this game, I will be on the San Francisco team point total under. They likely probably won't have a number like that up until the starting quarterback is decided. Uh, but I imagine that number probably being somewhere around 20, maybe 24 points. I'd be shocked to see much higher or lower than that. Uh, but yeah, like you just said, the little bit we've seen of Lance, not to say that he's a bad player, but he just hadn't had time to get that continuity. Because my first question would be, if he's going to be, starting this week, how often has he been taking snaps and reps with the first team offense and the people that he's going to be on the field with this coming Sunday? Because if you tell me it's only been with the past week or so, yes, not to say he'll go out there and look just completely inept, but he's not going to be as fluid and as uh he won't be on the same page with his wide receivers and running backs in the same way and things like that. So yeah, I'd definitely be looking to target something like a team point total or under, where a situation like where you said, large point spread, Houston could easily cover this and still lose by,
Mm-hmm.
8, 9, 10 points, still basically, 2 point or 2 score loss, still cover, maybe score a touchdown in garbage time, and that's what pushes you into the that area you need to get to cover. Um, but yeah, like I said, if Trey Lance is starting this game, I'm not too concerned about that. Uh, if Jimmy Garoppolo is out there, I'd be a little more concerned because you talk about the 49ers being able to maybe reach that 24 plus range. I can't say that Houston's going to go out there and be able to score more than 14. Um, they're another team that you might be able to target on the team point total under. Because you might see a low number like that, like a 15 and a half, a 16 and a half, especially with the way that spread's sitting. Um, so yeah, for that game, I'd definitely be looking at team point total unders. And if I was to lean on the spread, I would be looking at the to take the points.
Yeah. All right. My third pick, I got the Los Angeles Rams -3.5 on the road in Baltimore. Um, I don't have like a ton of faith in Matt Stafford, but especially after throwing 3 picks last week, he did not play well. Um, but they still put up 30. Like even despite that, that's like they still put up 30 against the Vikings. Sonny Michel, kind of emerged. He ran for 131 yards and touchdown. So I still believe like they even if he plays bad, like that shows me that they can still put up big points and still cover a spread. So I think in this week the Ravens just are totally decimated with injuries. I don't think Stafford will have the problems that he had last week, especially because the Ravens secondary just decimated with injury. So I don't think he'll have the same problems, and that definitely help him out in offense, and they won't see the same struggle. Ravens just been struggling all season, basically due to injury. They don't really have anybody. They have no running backs. They barely know who's going to start every week because Lamar's been having injuries. So they have a lot of problems over there. Just don't see them covering the spread. Rams are just a better team right now. So I got them. I'll lay the points. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you with this game. This was one of my plays this week with and lunch money bets on lunch break hot takes. I'm on the Rams -3.5. Uh, one of the points I stated there, the Rams are going to attack you with the passing game. They're going to hurt you with their wide receivers and their passing game. That is the one area where Baltimore has suffered the most this year, and that's the one area where teams are looking to capitalize on them from a defensive perspective. Get your playmakers into open space, force them to try and tackle you, lean on your wide receivers in your passing game. You get somebody like Cooper Cup into space. He makes one guy miss, he could go for 30, 40 yards. Somebody like OBJ, you can throw that deep bomb downfield and test some of these smaller cornerbacks and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
That small spread, I think, has more to do with the inconsistencies that we've seen recently out of the Rams. And that might have some of the books out there scared to put the number a little higher, even with the quarterback issues that have been going on with Baltimore. Because as far as I know right now, I think they're saying Lamar may start, but there's no guarantee behind it. And if Lamar doesn't start, it raises a serious question on who might actually start. Because is it going to be was it Josh Johnson or was it
Yeah, Josh Johnson last week.
okay? Yeah, and then you also got oh, what's his
Tyler Huntley.
yeah, him. So yeah, you don't know who you're going to see at quarterback. You don't know what level you're getting there. So yeah, I think this is a spread that could easily get up closer to a touchdown come game time, especially depending on who we see at quarterback. So I'm on the Rams already. Uh, if this is another Hundley or Johnson starting game, I might come back in and take the Rams, depending on where the number's at again, if it moves.
Yeah. All right. So we both on the same page there. But I don't think we'll be on the same page this one because I did hear your bets earlier. And I know you have the Packers, correct?
Yes, I'm gonna be on the Packers this week, so it sounds like you're gonna be relying on primetime Kirk to,
Yes,
buck
I
against
am
that
on the
trend.
Vikings. I am on the Vikings plus 6.5. And it's just too many points for a divisional game. I mean, Vikings aren't that bad of a team. They're pretty good, pretty decent. Um, and I just can't. It's a divisional rivalry. I just don't like taking big point spread in divisional rivalry. I just can't see uh, that where it's just going to be a total blowout here. Um, I think Vikings keep it close with every team, and they can keep it close again with the Pack. I mean, they beat the Packers in the first matchup, so I definitely. I don't think they'll win. I think they can cover a 6.5 point spread though. Yes, Kirk Cousins, we all know he's not very good in prime time, but I'm relying on the rest of the team to show up. Hopefully, Dalvin Cook will be back, and he'll run all over that Packers defense, and they'll be able to put up some points. As long as they just keep pace with the Packers, that's all I need, and I think they're capable of that. So yeah, I'll take the points here. Yeah, they're on the road in Green Bay. It's a bit of a risk, but I'm willing to take it. But yeah, why are you taking the Packers?
We got a hot team that's been, even with the struggles they faced, they hadn't slowed down. The defense has played well when it's need to. It hasn't been perfect, but you don't need a defense to be perfect in today's NFL. You don't need a defense to come in and shut teams down and only give up 10 to 17 points to be dominant. You know, if you're giving up 21 points a game, 20, 24 points, and your offense is still averaging somewhere closer to 30 points a game, that's a win. So, as a defense, if you come out and only give up 3 touchdowns, that's a good win. That's a good day in today's NFL for a defense, the way some of these teams are built. And, you know, as I was saying last week, Green Bay, they let Baltimore sneak back in to crush the spread, but at no point in time did it feel like that game was in threat of being lost. So, yes, I was sad to see the score end up the way it did, but the defense still only gave up 22 points on the day. Yeah. So I like it's a hot team. They're playing hot. They're playing well. Uh, Aaron Rodgers is playing top notch. Um, he's that type of player where when they're hot, they can do things that make you question, uh, abilities of players. Like, he's like Patrick Mahomes. People have seen him do things that make you question why can't other people do this. Aaron Rodgers has the ability to do that at times, and I'm not one to believe much in things like the trend with Kirk Cousins, but there's definitely a noticeable, for lack of a better word, trend because people pay attention to stuff like that. There's a reason why people track things like that, and so no, that is not a main reason why I went with the Packers, but it is something that sticks out in the back of my mind as something that might push you over the edge when you actually start lining stuff up and looking at things.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah. Well, we'll see who comes out the winner in this one. But yeah, you can go ahead and go with the rest of your picks.
All right, yeah, this week I'm gonna be on that same Cleveland team that busted my spread last week with -3 against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh has been horrible. Pittsburgh has stayed horrible outside of a handful of games. I don't see that offense putting up many points. As I've been talking about other games with you, I'm typically an under better when it comes to totals in general. Now, of course, I will play overs. It's not like I exclusively look for unders.
Mm-hmm.
But this year I've had success finding team point total unders, and you look for things like who's been playing bad. We may not have the best defense in the league, but when you have a strong defense coming in, you have a strong run game in Cleveland. Those are things that can dictate the game, that can slow the game down, less possessions, less chance to score points. So even if Pittsburgh ends up winning the game, something like a team point total under, you might see a 17-14 point game, Pittsburgh winning, and it still actually hit under on a team point total. But I will be on Cleveland -3. They have one of the best run games in the NFL, and Pittsburgh has one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. And as I said with the Baltimore Rams game, this is something that plays into the hand of the offense. This is the situation you want. This is what we like to do. And this defense is basically going to let us do it. And so you know, I'm not going to be on any props for this game, I don't think. But something that you could look at is a Nick Chubb rushing total. It I'm not quite sure how much they've been utilizing any other backs they have on the roster since Hunt went down. I know Chubb's been getting a bulk of the carries, but that's an area where you could target potentially how many carries prop, how many carries he might have in the game. Yardage prop, TD props, because he's going to be a staple in the offense. But yeah, I'll be on Cleveland -3. And then my other game for the week, we got Carolina and New Orleans. I found this game at -6.5. I will be on New Orleans. The Carolina offense has been dead. It doesn't matter who's out there. I heard word that we may see Sam Darnold starting this Sunday, and that only makes me feel better about taking New Orleans. This past week, like I said, I was in the stadium for this last game. I saw firsthand literally basically every throw Sam Darnold attempted. His feet weren't stable. His feet weren't planted. It literally looked like he was hopping either before he started his throwing motion or like mid throw. Unstable base and platform, horrible mechanics. The one pass that was even worth talking about was a blown coverage. Like, dude standing wide open, nobody's 15 yards around him. Like, you better put the ball in the guy's hands. And so if Darnold starts, I would not be surprised if this line moves higher. I like it at the 6.5. I expect that we may see Taysom Hill and others back by Sunday. And so, yeah, I don't, as I was saying with these other games, New Orleans can run the ball, especially if they're going to have Hill at quarterback. You can expect a more college style, almost Tim Tebow like. We're going to pound the ball with these power run formations, even if it's the quarterback handling the ball, sprinkle in some runs. For whatever reason, Carolina's defense has forgotten how to stop the run. Against Tampa, basically, they just kept bringing in an extra lineman and ran it up the gut. Like, they literally ran it down the throat of the Panthers. And like I said, and just basically ran out of jumbo formations. So I would not be shocked to see something like that occur this coming week. Maybe a little more Mark Ingram in the backfield instead of Kamara, depending on how capable Hill will be throwing the ball. I know his finger issues with the injury. They've been trying to utilize the pass game, but even still, -6.5. I hate saying it, but I'd be shocked if the Panthers scored more than 17 points in this game. They didn't have a kicker for the Buffalo game against the Bucs. The kicker was the only one that scored. Like, I can't explain it. But that's how bad the offense was. The only real highlight was, hey, this kicker we brought in, he was 2 for 2. The kickoffs didn't go out of bounds. He did his job. Give the game ball to the kicker. But yeah, so yeah, I'll be on the Saints -6.5 there, and that wraps up my picks for the week.
All right. Well, that makes me feel better because I know you're a Panthers fan, so you know your team the best. And I was thinking about picking the Panthers because I saw how bad the Saints were on Monday night. So it tempted me to want to go with the Panthers. But ultimately I chose not to take that game. So I feel better about that. And as far as the Steelers Browns game, I just stayed off that game completely because I don't know what to expect from either one of those teams. I don't know when they're going to show up, when they're not, because that's basically what they are. They're 500 teams because they show up some games and they show up not next. And I don't know what team I'm going to get this week, either one of them. So I don't know how to bet that one. I just can't. I mean, either one of them can show up that day and you know surprise you and win that game. So I just didn't know to pick in that one. So yeah, that's all of our picks for the week. And but I do have some over and unders want to mention. The first one I got is Atlanta and the Buffalo game. I want to take it under 44.5 points, and I want to do that because Atlanta 6-9 on the over and unders. They 9 games going under, and 6 of the last 7 have gone under. So they don't score a lot of points. I mean, their offense is not good. They have a couple weapons. They got Russell Gage and Kyle Pitts, but they just don't score. Like they're just like incapable of scoring points. And Buffalo is kind of prone to having these low scoring games. I mean, look what they did against the Jaguars, and those type of games are they can have those type of games. And I think this might be one of them. So yeah, that's why I'll take the under there. And the Panthers and Saints game, like you said, you mentioned how bad your offense, and the Saints offense is not that much better. I mean, they're pretty bad on too. It doesn't matter really who's starting at quarterback, whether it's Ian Book or Taysom Hill. They don't score a lot. So I'll take the under 38 because I just don't think a lot of points are going to be scored in this game.
Yeah, because at that 38, they're basically saying it's going to be something like, what, 21-17 games, somewhere in that range,
Yeah.
21-16, maybe 22 and a half, somewhere around there. So, yeah, like I said, I'd be shocked if the Panthers scored more than 17. Yes, it could happen, division game. Uh, but if they talking about walking Sam Darnold out there, like I said, I'd be shocked if this number doesn't get higher as we get closer to Sunday.
All right, and then next one, I guess Packers and Vikings. I think it's gonna be a bit of a shootout, so I'm gonna take the over. It's over 47.5. I'm gonna score, so this scores a lot of points, even if they're losing, they still put up points. And the Packers, Aaron Rodgers obviously does his thing. It's five of the last 6 games have hit the over, so I'm gonna keep with that trend. And I'm gonna take the over in that game. Also, I got Detroit and Seattle. I'm going to take the under 42.5. I think both offenses are going to struggle a bit. Yeah, I just don't like either one of them. Those teams are both pretty bad teams. They don't score a lot. So I think that's a pretty easy cover there with 2 bad teams. Um,
Yeah, I
and
was
then
actually on Detroit plus 6.5 with that win. I don't know if I happened to mention it, but yeah, just right in line with what you said. You got bad offenses, you got a bit of a large spread. I don't expect Seattle to do much. And so yeah, like I said, give me that 6.5. Something like the under in a situation like that. That's definitely something you look at. Uh, I'm actually currently at the moment looking at a live just score Oregon Oklahoma. This game was pretty low scoring, wasn't threatening the pregame number at all. And going into the fourth quarter, 44-65, and so I believe the pregame number was 65, and they blew by that already at 69. So it's one of those situations where if you thought it was going to team cover the spread, I don't know the exact numbers going into it, but you know you feel like both teams are going to score points. It's just going to cover the spread because one team's still going to get blown out. You see, you go to playing that over. If you got two teams playing and you don't, two bad offenses and you don't expect either team to do anything, you might look at something like taking the points on the spread or looking towards a game total under, because even if one team gets blown out, they still may not cover that over because the other team didn't score at all.
yeah. Also, I got my last pick, Chiefs Bengals. I'm going to take the over in that one. These This is the case where there are two good offenses, and yeah, Burrow looked good. Obviously, the Chiefs are very capable of scoring a lot of points. So I like the over 49.5 in this one. Two big offenses, and I think they can. I think it'll hit.
Yeah, power offenses, questionable defenses. That's a recipe that builds up for something like a game total over. Uh, so yeah, I think honestly, I think that if we were talking about healthier teams, that game would probably have a total more around the 53 to 55 range. Um, potentially talking about both teams threatening putting up 30 points each. Uh, so yeah, I think that number might be a little bit low. And yeah, something like game total over would definitely be the way to go if that's how you're leaning on that one.
Uh, um, you have any other picks or advice for the people?
Um, Not well, not as far as picks. As far as advice, some of this stuff is just staying up to date, following things. Kind of like how I mentioned with the 49ers. If you follow the 49ers and you know, Lance hadn't been getting work with the first team, players and getting first team reps and things like that, you may have a little bit better insight. And you check the number at the beginning of the week and say, just for example, it was 17 and a half. You're looking at team point total under, like I was mentioning earlier, and you don't like that number, you think it's too low. Well, over the course of the week, people might bet that up, and so you check back in Saturday night, Sunday morning, before, or maybe more mid-afternoon, depending on when kickoff is. Check back, you see it maybe up around 19, 20. You may like that number a whole lot better, just and nothing changed other than the number. But sometimes having a little bit of patience, and especially in an instance where the team well, you follow this team. um like I said, something I will be watching for is if Sam Darnold starts, because not necessarily that the team would go out there and do better from a win-loss perspective if Cam Newton or somebody else was out there, but I would be shocked that if I didn't see some ugly passes and quarterback play out of Sam Darnold in the first half against that Saints defense. Um, you know, if you can find a prop, will the Saints defense have an interception or have multiple interceptions? That's something I would definitely check out and investigate and see what the odds were on that. Um, Hell, if they'll let you parlay that with the Saints win on the money line, you might see some interesting numbers there, and that could be a real, just almost a gimme right there. You definitely target something like a Lattimore interception prop if you can find that at some books and things like that. Um, I definitely would not be on any of the touchdown props or things like that in that game because like you say, you got struggling offenses. It that plays out for more under plays, and like I said before, that's kind of what I keep my eyes open for. It's just something that more naturally works for me. I seem to find underplays better. Not to say that I avoid certain plays, but you know it's just something that clicks for me. So when you find what works for you, what you might be able to see better than some aspects, for some people that may be just playing more solely the game totals. For others, it may be spreads. You might be able to find the props better because you follow one or two teams really in depth, or you play a lot of fantasy for just fun, but because you research your players for your fantasy team. On the flip side of that, oh, I expect such and such to have a great week. Let me go check out some of the props for them. Find you a nice juicy number. Not saying just throw out money at anything, but if you're expecting somebody to rush for 90, 100 yards and you see their prop is only 60 yards, well, even if you're off by 20, 30 yards, you can still hit that prop. So that's something that might entice you to play that prop because you know this team well. You've in some ways handicap this game already because you're looking at the scenarios that are going to play out between this player, these circumstances. Um, there was one game earlier this week with I forget Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots when they played.
Mm-hmm.
It was it's a bad weather game, cold, things like that. Some teams that utilize their tight ends have had success getting them the ball against the New England Patriots. And my thought was, they're not going to be able to get these chunk plays. They're not going to be able to get the ball downfield with digs and things like that. And so you're going to have a situation where they're in the red zone inside the 15-yard line, and they're going to go to the tight end because that's a position that's had success against the Patriots. And sure enough, if late in the game in a situation to score a touchdown, it was either to tie or go up or something like that. They throw it to Knox, and
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get to see the play personally. Uh, but you can't do any better than that. You literally handicap the situation and scenario that you needed to occur to hit this touchdown prop. That's the best you can do. You got the situation you needed, and that you that's all you can hope for. There is no guarantees or assurances in this, and so if you get close, that was an indicator that you might have been on. Might have known what you was talking about. And so, sometimes catching a bad beat or a close L is kind of a reminder like, hey, they said I was crazy for thinking that, but I wasn't off by that much.
Yeah, yeah, that happened a lot. Which sucks for me because I play a lot of parlays. So if I miss just by a little, well, that screws up the whole damn ticket. But
Something you might be interested in, and I hadn't gotten too much into it, but something like a round robin bet when you start to get putting together them parlays, because man, if you missing out on you missing one game on a 4 or 5 leg parlay instead of just playing the parlay, if you had done the round robin, you might technically end up placing more bets and wagering a little more. Uh, but essentially, you get
see,
into
that's the
scenarios.
thing. It's the wagering more part where I can't.
Yes, but that's where it's counteracted by how sure are you in your parlays.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yes, if you're just slapping together a parlay for fun, feel free, you know. But it's something I've noticed before where maybe you had 3, 4 picks that you felt really good about, and yeah, you threw them in a parlay, and you're like, yeah, this is gonna hit, and then you go 3-1, and you go, 2-1, and 4-1, and it's that one. Well, when if you put together a round robin on something like that, lower your scale per bet or whatever you're placing per bet, uh, and that simply because of the multiple outcomes, you know, you go 3-1, you go 4-1, even if you go 3-2 you still end up on the positive side, and you can just work out better. Because trust me, hell, I went on a 12-0 streak over 3 days recently. Didn't parlay a single one of them, and every day in the back of my mind, I had the thought, "Hey, maybe I should parlay this," because I never do that. Never do that. Sure enough, first day, boom, it's like 3-0. Like, dang, should have parlayed that. Second day, hey, you want to parlay this? Nah, 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 nah. Boom, 5-0. Third day. Now you done said you should have parlayed this past 2 damn days. Nah, we ain't doing that. Bam, 4-0. You want to talk about mad? How can you get mad about winning when you're sitting there telling yourself you're not gonna parlay it, and then you turn around and go perfect 3 days in a row? Like, you want to talk about losing out on some money while still winning?
that's what you do, man. You expect to lose, and that kind of screws you up. But it happens, man. But that's pretty much the show, man. You can go ahead and tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me Wednesday nights. I do a segment on lunch break hot takes. They start up at 7:15. Uh, you can usually find me coming on around about 8 o'clock, covering my weeks, my plays for the NFL weeks and things like that. Um, you can also find me on Twitter at dweatherly90. Um, and yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. Get at me on Twitter. You feel free to drop by the LBHT show. Ask me, questions there. I'm in the chat room there. I'm typically around for, the good friends, better enemies in the comments when I can. So I'm glad to, pass on any information and knowledge or help out in any way I can if anybody's looking.
All right, man. You can find me at NFL Caleb 22 on Twitter and Instagram, whatever. And also good. You can find me on this channel at Good Friends, Better Rivals with Ferris McDonough. Um, we are not having a show this week, but we will be back. They will be coming out on Tuesdays, I believe. But you'll just keep an eye. You'll see them come up. Also, yeah. Like and subscribe, and yeah, you can also find uh, all my picks in my articles on let'sgetreadynetwork.com. So go there if you want everything I just said pretty much in this video in written form. But yeah, thanks for watching, and we will see you next week. Pretty much at the on this time, Wednesday or Thursday, whenever these come out. All right, see you guys.